A wild Pokemon appears. It's a hit, more than a hit, a gargantuan, colossal phenom. 3 years later, no longer are we dealing with these weird little turn-based Game Boy RPGs. Television, trading cards, spin-offs, knockoffs, blast-offs, coughing. Pokemon is not an idea of a video game anymore. It's an empire, Pikachu our monarch, cloistered off in the ivory towers of Game Freak HQ, or rather in the second floor of the one building in Celadon City. A meeting of the minds will attempt to examine their lightning in a bottle generator as to craft some more energy. So for the first, and what I would argue is the final time, they asked themselves, how can we iterate upon this video game? Red and Blue got over with its concept alone, but they wouldn't be so lucky crafting a sequel. No matter how sound your foundation is, if it never changes or improves, your likelihood of sticking around is slim to none. Pokemon as a video game series at this point is effectively no longer a trailblazer. Everything it does is going to be in its own little bubble from here on out. Instead of taking inspiration from Dragon Quest, for example, it's going to be taking inspiration from, well, itself. Looking back from now, July of 2021, what sets Pokemon Gold and Silver apart is that they are the only games to look at the Pokemon formula, and instead of asking how do we do this better, they asked how do we follow this up? And their answer could be summed up with one term: more. They could give you more. 8 badges, now there's 16. One world to explore? Well, why not 2? The secret sauce to Pokemon Silver and Gold's longevity is that it's an emotional masterpiece, not necessarily a game-designed one. The level curve is infamous and inexcusable. Many others have noted that viable team composition selections leave something to be desired, and I'd argue that overall its layout pales in comparison to the originals. But it doesn't end up mattering because that's not what one thinks of when this game comes up. We don't remember that you can't catch a Larvitar until the final minutes. We remember that the world is actually 2 worlds. We remember that it's double the game. Except that's a trick. You do not receive double the game. Your quest through Johto takes around 20 hours, and Kanto almost doesn't achieve 5. As a piece of design, as unvarnished code, they are not equal halves. But in the deep recesses of your brain, it feels like they are. For deep stretches of playtime, you're trouncing under-leveled, under-talented Pokemon. Immediately succeeding a gym with a level 35 creature, you'll cruise by swaths of trainers having low 20s before the difficulty adjusts. And yes, I do know the defense to this. You can do the Lake of Rage bit first, but the game is obviously laid out in a way where it doesn't make sense to do that. You need to go to Olivine to get Surf, so why would anyone not do the gym in the city they've already been in favor of doing one you need to backtrack to get to? Unless you're purposefully looking for a reason to sequence break, that's not the way you're gonna play the game. And if that's the case and you are trying to sequence break, then you're probably looking for an extra challenge anyway. What's the point of sequence breaking when there's nothing to break? The allure to doing this is to butt heads with more powerful foes, and it's taken away from us here. The difficulty is a scatter shot. You will have these stretches of low-level encounters, only for the game to ambush you by jumping up 10, 20, even 30 levels. Important battles feel important because of this level increase. Now I ask myself, is that a cheap trick? Possibly, but I cannot in good faith say that it doesn't work. Don't get it mixed up. I'm not trying to say that these games are difficult, because they aren't. Depending on who you ask, level balances are either sloppy and uneven, or a legitimate way to craft memorable encounters. On the other hand, these low-level trainers do reinforce the idea that you are the best, which, as I established last time, is priority number 1. Pokemon is a series that always sets you up to succeed. Every fight is engineered for you to win without needing to delve into any deeper mechanics or use any real tactical advantages. You use what looks cool in a way that feels natural. No questions asked. Red, this game's final boss, is the lone exception to this rule in the entire series. Unless you count things like the Battle Tower, I guess. You are not expected to match Red's levels, or brute force him. You're not expected to just unga-bunga your way in. It's a challenge. You're supposed to rise up, engage with the mechanics, build a competent team, and overcome. In the previous game, the main antagonist was the literal kid next door, as if the entire universe revolved around your tiny, insignificant neighborhood. The 2 most important people are you and your frenemy. This time that rival role is reprised and filled by a complete nobody. He doesn't taste success. This rival, the ultimate enemy in the last game, is not your equal. Because this game is not about outdueling your peers. It is not about being better than that other kid. It assumes that you already are better than that kid. It's about being a part of something larger, about living up to the legends of old. Remember, this is the only time Pokemon has ever explored this. They never would again build off any previous entry in such a direct way. Silver and Gold are about seeing how things change. As any scope broadens, so does the potential for greatness. Red existed in a world with exactly one great trainer, himself. Well, things change. Underneath his feet, new Pokemon, a new region, new trainers. Team Rocket allows girls now. For the most part, Red doesn't adapt. He clings to Kanto's stalwarts. Legends fall. Current sensations become has-beens in a flash. Red lives long enough to pass the torch to you, and from Kanto to Johto. Many NPCs consider Johto to be the lesser realm, the Canada to Kanto's United States. Gym leaders boast about their superiority despite knowing how many badges you've claimed to date. To them, everything of consequence happened in Kanto. Ironically, its streets so barren this time that you'd be one to think that nothing of importance had ever happened here. You as a character know better. Johto is much more traditional. You've seen the history of one realm in this game, the other in the last, seeing all the ways it has changed, oftentimes for the worse. Our Pokemon Tower is replaced and downsized. Cinnabar Island was destroyed. Copycat's house torn down to make room for a train that I didn't even use. They came up with a continuity that is set in the future, yet in a place that is stuck in the past. We see cityscapes and technology encroaching upon the region. Kanto's urban sprawl is expanding. Hell, this game even predicted the smartphone revolution. Again, things change. There are new evolutions to old favorites. Crobat, Steelix. Sometimes in order to grow, you need to leave, expand your horizons. Kanto, which was the entire game last time, is belittled. It's a husk. A boss rush comprised of fights that are designed for you to murder indiscriminately. These are battles you would need to go out of your way to try and lose in order to have a chance of being toppled. Though public opinion appears to have shifted somewhat in the last few years, these are still potentially the most beloved games in the series. And that's because they are like the anti-modern Pokemon, giving us more, giving us introspection, two aspects everyone and anyone who plays the series misses dearly. Every game follows the same formula. Every generation of Pokemon is about reliving the same emotional beats of Red and Blue. While this one is distinct because it's about moving past this sentiment. You could say that Pokemon as a whole focuses their attention backwards. Most of the time they take the same formula, make some quality of life changes, introduce some new creatures, and call it a day. Ironically, Silver and Gold, entries themed around revisiting the past, are the ones that manage to escape it, to break free of the confines of its template the most. Gold and Silver didn't change the world like its predecessor. It did what we've already seen, only in a way that in hindsight is incredible because we would never get it this good again. Despite its shortcomings, which there are plenty of, Pokemon Gold and Silver are home to some of the most fulfilling moments in video game history. They aren't the greatest, but they are the greatest to remember. Speaking of, remember to never trust anyone who needs a haircut. Goodbye. Alright, we have an Encore bonus part that I couldn't fit into the actual script, so here it is. Pokemon Gold and Silver are single-handedly responsible for people thinking that the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color are the same video game platform. They are not. The Game Boy Color was much more powerful, much more capable than the original Game Boy, but Pokemon Gold and Silver are not Game Boy Color games, they are enhanced Game Boy games to add color on the Game Boy Color. They are original Game Boy games with color added. There's a huge difference. The Game Boy Color had a much faster processor, 4 times the RAM, and it could do things like this. So it's a beautiful day here in the sunshine state of Florida, and I have an extra bonus segment for you. Another Encore presentation. Now, this is just an update. So you might have seen these videos,
I did Pokemon Generation 1, now I've done Pokemon Generation 2, so you're either thinking one of two things. You might be saying, what the fuck, Jason, this is not why I come to this channel, I don't give a shit about Pokemon, why are you talking about Pokemon? And you also might be saying, well, you did 1, you did 2, now you're going to do the rest of them or something? And the answer to that is no, I am not going to do the rest of them. But I'm also not done. I am planning on doing more Pokemon games. But I don't have something to say about every generation. I'm gonna skip some. Like, you wanna know what I think of 3? It's fine. I don't know. I got nothing. So yeah, I'm still doing the Super Nintendo RPG thing, obviously. That's my bread and butter. The next one is Nobunaga's Ambition. It probably will not be the next video, but it is coming down the pipeline. And yeah, thanks for watching to the end. See you later.